Okay, let's see if we have some trades on. There are a couple at guts, but they seem to be expired or changed when I was looking at them earlier. So let's have a look and see if they're still there. Hate it when the team names are a bit weird. Makes it more difficult to find them. That is changed. That's very high odds, so we're not going to take that. Okay, we got some Norwegian basketball going on here. Being a Norwegian, if that's an edge, I'm happy to place that. Okay, so the game starts in an hour. Okay, yeah, that's so here you can see the challenges with bookies having the soft books having lower limits on how much you can place on games. You never definitely wanna ever send it for approval. I remember I did that on a bookie when I first got started, and I told Martin, and he was just like, "What are you doing?" And I got limited pretty fast after that, so lesson learned. Okay, yeah. Okay, so for the guys watching, I'm Marius, the latest addition to the Trademate team, and I'm gonna be trading on the soft bookmakers. I got in about 1,100 trades at EdgeBet, as we were called previously. And from those 1,100 trades, I think my profit was about $350 with an average ROI per bet of 0.8%, which was quite low. This being the soft books and everything, I was running not too well at all. But what's good about the majority of the soft books is that they offer sign-up bonuses. So despite me not running too well, I was still able to clear about somewhere between $1,800 and $2,000 in bonuses. So that's a very important tool for me that has enabled me to build my bankroll. So right now I have a bankroll of about $7,000, and I've been running pretty well since I started using Trademate, way above EV almost the entire time, as you can see from the graph. Currently, I got my bankroll split over multiple bookmakers. So, for instance, you can see here that the majority of my trades have been at Bet365. So that's where I also have a larger proportion of my capital, since there's more opportunities popping up there. Also gotten in some good volume on Nordic Bet and Norsk Tipping. I'm pretty lucky to be Norwegian with Norsk Tipping just having a lot of good edges, even though I haven't been running too well there, down about 9%. But I've been running pretty good all over, so definitely happy about that. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are using Max, but it's just one tool I'd really like to show you that's pretty awesome, and that's called Spectacle, which is what I'm using to sort of resize my windows using shortcuts, which is really good to have when you're trading because it makes it a lot easier. So let me just check if there are any questions so far. No, there isn't. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about how I use Trademate. So Trademate it's a signaling tool, definitely the core version, and it's very important to emphasize that we signal you when there are deviations in the market. So that does not necessarily mean that you should place every single trade that we show you. Which trades you end up placing should definitely reflect how much risk you're willing to take, how long it is before the game in terms of the market might move one way or the other, and a couple of other factors. So the ultimate goal is to beat the closing line at Pinnacle. And Pinnacle is one of the largest bookmakers in the world, and they're one of the so-called sharp books. So they have very high limits to the amount of money that's able or that is possible to place on a game. So um, basically, information equals or liquidity equals information. So if people are willing to bet a ton of money on the outcome of a game, they better do so profitably. Otherwise, they'll run out and go bankrupt pretty soon. So at the time the game starts, the market at Penny, when there's a very high amount of money placed on a game, it reflects sort of the true probability of the outcome. And Penny is able to do that with about a 99.7% accuracy over a sample size of 400,000 football games. So they're pretty good at placing their odds. Okay, so there haven't been too many bets so far here. There's one now, so let's see. This looks like a very, very lowly game. Conference South in England. All right, we'll have a look. So in general, I try to place my bets on leagues with higher liquidity, and part of the reason for that is that at the soft bookmakers, you will get limited if you are a winning player. So my goal is to extract the maximum amount of value that I possibly can at the soft books, and just build my bankroll so that eventually, once I'm shut out of all 35 that we currently have on Trademate, I'll have a bankroll that's large enough for me to take on the Asian market. So that also includes that I wanna, or as a result of that, I sort of wanna stick under the radar a bit, because they use pretty advanced methods to find out which of their customers are value betting. And if you're both value betting and winning consistently, they're gonna shut you down. Okay, so that line is gone. So let's remove it. So far today, I got a couple of games on. So let's have a look through them. Got some on the European or the World Cup qualifiers. Croatia, Iceland had a draw. Very happy to place that bet. Iceland did terrific during the Euros this year, and they beat the Netherlands and everything in the last qualifier. So it's gonna be. I think that's a good odds at least. So the majority of the games I've been placing on so far today has been on the lower leagues in England, where there has been a lot of edges on Bet365 for as long as I've been using it. So definitely some good value there. And one thing that I found pretty interesting. So I recently signed up for a sport market account, which obviously is what Reese is using to trade in the Asian market. And one thing I find really interesting here is that I'm able to check out different games and see how much liquidity is in the market. So at this game, for instance, the max bet you can set is $14K, and that's in English League 2. Me being a Norwegian, obviously I follow the Norwegian top division, and sometimes the liquidity in these lower English leagues are actually higher than the top division in my country. So that definitely means that I'm happy to get some trades on there. So, as I mentioned previously, with the trades I did over at EdgeBet, I encountered a lot of up and down swings, which has really had an impact on the strategy that I have decided to follow using Trademate. So currently I have my settings set to 30% of the Kelly criterion, and that is because I'd much rather have a more slow and steady growth um, in um, in my EV profits than I would like to see large swings up and down in my profits. Just because I find that rather uncomfortable. Uh, so it definitely comes down to how much risk I'm willing to take myself personally. Um, okay, so I can see that there is some action on the NCAA, the college basketball. So let's check that out. Another neat tool I mentioned Spectacle earlier is having a password manager for so you don't have to manually enter all the passwords for all these bookie sites. I'm currently using LastPass, which is quite nice and saves me a lot of time and hassle. So I'm noticing that when I'm using this streaming software, that it just slows my entire computer down, which is a bit annoying. Let's see, Alabama versus Mississippi. Appears that they have removed that edge. So obviously, I'm looking a lot forward to the club games returning this week. It's an international break where the international teams are playing, and that really just there's so fewer games on, and as a result, also fewer edges. So I have not been able to get in that much volume this week. But it's been good that the NBA has been on. So I've been able to get in some good trades on Nordic Bet on the NBA this week. And been running pretty good there as well. So that's been pretty nice. So that's also sort of one thing that, in terms of extracting the most amount of value from. Okay, there's a question here. I'll just finish what I was saying. So in terms of extracting the maximum amount of value from a softbook, for instance, I have noticed that at Nordic Bet, there's usually edges on most of the NBA games that's on in a given evening. So I'll much rather want to sort of use up the limited amount of games that I'm able to place bets on the NBA rather than Bulgarian basketball. So when I was using the old edge bet, I was using Marathon Bet and Paddy Power and a couple other of the soft books, and I was just like hammering everything, all the edges that popped up. which got me limited pretty quickly on Marathon um, after just 5 bets. Now they have like 2 sites, .com or .co UK or something like that. So I was able to sign up with just exactly the same details for 2 accounts there. Um, and on the first, I'm not sure how many bets I got in, a couple of hundred, 100, 200 maybe. And on the latter, I only got 5. So it might have something to do with them noticing that I had an account on the sister site or whatever, but obviously didn't go against their regulations or anything. They perfectly let me do that. Oh, cool. We got an edge in, I think it's League 2. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Bender, I'll be addressing your question pretty shortly. Just wanna see if I can place this trade first. Okay, yeah, this is definitely pretty slow today. So hopefully the edge will still be there when I'm able to get this up. Cambridge, Crawley. Oh. And it is still there, so that's good. Also, what I was saying earlier is that the important thing to keep in mind is that your goal is to beat the closing line. So if you think that there will be movements in the market, you could potentially sort of reduce the impact that a big switch could have by reducing your bet size a tiny amount. Um, yeah. Let's have a look at PokerStars for this Millwall game as well. Gjelstad, League 1. Guess we'll find out. Okay, so the plan going forward is to do these streams at least once a week, maybe twice, depending on how much action there is going on. So, for instance, maybe I'll do 2 streams during the weeks when there's Champions League on. And yeah, that is definitely on there. And then 1 stream when there's not. Okay, so let me return back to the questions. Okay, so Ben the Reorder, he asks, for tight strategy, which settings would you use, as in what odds ranges and time before kickoff for recommended leagues and for non-recommended? Okay, so what we'll do is that, okay, then first we'll have a look at my presets and I'll discuss why I placed them after I look up this game. Okay, so now everything seems to be back up and working, which is great. Alright, so I'm gonna show how I put my presets because Ben Reno, the question has disappeared, but if I remember it correctly, he asked about how you could adjust your presets to lower your risk. So the way I've set mine up now is that I have one for all of the bookies that I'm currently using. where I only show the recommended leagues. My edges are ranging from 2 to 100%, odds from 1 to 6, and 5 hours before the game. Now, the reason why I want to use the recommended leagues mainly on the soft books is because they have higher liquidity, and also because I used to place a lot of bets on Bulgarian basketball and uh, women's friendlies, whatever, when I used EdgeBet, which resulted in me getting limited pretty fast from a couple of the bookies. So I want to extract the maximum amount of value from the soft books. So only betting on recommended leagues makes my profile and account stick out a bit less. Now I've set the odds range from 1 to 6 because that's the range that I'm comfortable getting my money in on. And sometimes I place bets that's a bit higher, but I've tried to tighten up my range a bit from what I've been doing on the 260 bets that I've been doing so far. So currently it's set at 6. Also, I don't want to put it on the really low edges, the ones below 2%, because if you place the bets like 5 hours before the game, as I'm open to on this preset, then if you only place on 2% edges, it might swing out of your favor before the game starts, and then you won't beat the closing line. So it's sort of to ensure that I don't do that. So also sort of as a since it is the recommended leagues, I'm comfortable placing edges 5 hours before the game. So that's sort of you got to increase your risk a bit somewhere, I guess, and that's from what I've seen, a lot of the edges that I have been placing, despite them being 5 hours early, have still ended up being edges. So I feel that it's possible to beat the closing lines by taking those trades. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'll keep on doing until my analytics proves me wrong. Which is great to have that tool because it enables you to, if I discover that it is a leak down the line, then I can tighten up my range even more. Okay, so looks like I'll just have a look at this Millwall trade, and then I'll go through the other presets as well. But overall, if you want to reduce your risk, you should place on higher edges, closer to kickoff, and on lower odds. If you do those 3 things, then you're gonna reduce your risk. And also how you set your Kelly criterion has a major impact on how much risk you're willing to take in terms of the bet size. So Martin wrote a great article about bet sizing that I recommend that all of you check out, because it's a very, very important concept if you're going to do sports trading. So having a solid understanding of how that works is key, in my opinion, if you're going to be profitable in the long term. Yeah, so that edge was obviously gone. All right, so also, as I mentioned, what's good at the softbooks is that they offer sign-up bonuses. So currently I'm on 2 bonuses at Guts and Mobilet. And part of their rules for clearing these bonuses is that you have to put the bets on odds above 1.5. So that's why I've set that as my lower limit. And also I've set the edge range to 2%. And I'm placing on all leagues here just because it's important for me to be able to clear those bonuses, which I don't think I've ever missed a bonus at the bookies that I've signed up for so far. So if you're starting to get close to clearing a bonus and you sort of want to take a bit more risk in terms of what leagues you place on, you could balance that out by just reducing your bet size and placing it on a larger volume of games. to enable for you to declare the bonus. Okay, so since I'm placing on all leagues, you can see that I've narrowed the hours before game that I'm placing to 3 hours here, which is a bit higher than what I have on my all leagues setting. Okay, so let's see if we can find this Murcia game, because so far there's I've been talking a lot, but I've not been able to place that many bets. Right, okay, so the odds there has changed, and that's very important, guys. If you see that the odds change, then most likely you should not place the bet. Now, what's cool is that you're able to check. So this odds changed from 235 to 225. So what's good is that I can check whether or not it's still an edge, and in this case it isn't. So I'm not gonna place that bet, and I'm just gonna remove it from the feed as well. Okay, so when I scroll down to I have one set for Norse tipping by themselves, where I just get notified about any edge. And the reason for that is that Norse tipping is probably the bookie that I know of, at least, that has the highest margin that they take themselves. So in order for there to be an edge on Norse tipping, the Asian market has to drop by a lot. If that happens, then it's very unlikely that it's going to swing out of your favor again before the game kicks off. So therefore, I'm pretty happy getting my money on whichever games I can find at Norsk Tipping. The only disadvantage of Norsk Tipping is that sometimes the games are not single, like in this case. So that means that in order for me to place it, I'll need to find something I'll have to create an accumulator, which I don't really like to do, because then there's the risk that the game you place the Tranmere game with is going to have a negative edge, so it'll cancel out the 3.9% edge that I currently have. What I would do is to look up on Odds Portal and to see whether some of the odds here, like for instance this West Brom game, if the odds there on Pinnacle is the same as at Norsk Tipping, because then then it'll probably be good without me doing the fine exact maths. Oh, there was a question. Did you say that you never completed a bonus? No, I said that I've never failed to complete a bonus. So of all the bonuses I've started, I've been able to finish them off. So I cleared about $2,000, I think, on the old edge bet by simply from bonuses. So that's been really good for me. Okay, so I'll see if I can find something to match this with. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's an easier, bearing bow is an easier name to possibly find that. Alright, never mind that one. Okay. Alright, just gonna see if I can find this Ukraine game and place that. All right. So yeah, currently I'm limited from Marathon, bets on Unibet, Paddy Power. I think it's one more that I can remember, but that still leaves me with a lot of bookies left that I can run through over the next couple of weeks and months. Just trying to get the maximum amount of value. There, that is gone. Just check the Slack channel real quick to see if someone had found something to match the Tranmere game with. Pretty quiet there. If you do have found something to place that game with, please let me know in the chat. Can they limit you before you finish the bonus? Yes, they can. I think it was on Unibet where they limited me to being able to maximum place. I think it was like $10, $5 something on a game, and then I just placed a shit ton of volume to clear my remainder of my bonus because I think I was at about 80% there. So I still managed to clear it by just getting in the volume. But obviously, if they limit you to even lower than that, to $1 or less, then it might be difficult to do within that the time frame that you still have left on the bonus. So by placing bets on all leagues to clear the bonus, I do run the risk of, or I wouldn't say risk, but it could happen that they will limit me before I'm able to clear that bonus. But I think that the advantage of completing that bonus and just getting that variance-free money outweighs the con of being limited. All right, so let's just see. Yeah, so for the Scandinavian guys, there's a site called Oddsen.nu, which usually offers sign up. They have an affiliate deal with the majority of the Nordic bookies, so you can get an improved sign up bonus if you go through them. I'm not sure how that is. There's probably sites like that for different locations, whether you're in the UK or other places in Europe or around the world, where you can get sign up bonuses as well. Just do a Google search on it and see what you can find. Okay, so let's just have a look at the last preset that I have, which is the All Leagues preset. And I'm not sure why that's set to 3 hours before the game, because typically I won't bother placing those bets unless it's 1 hour. Okay, so at the All Leagues filter, I currently got it set from I only place bets about 3% and 1 hour before the game. So that still doesn't mean that I will place the bet, but I would like to be notified of the bets that exists here. And as you can see in my trade feed right now, I mean, the bets are on Northern Ireland's top division and Greece, Luxembourg, U19, which is they're really low liquidity markets. So I don't really want to get my money in there because in the low liquidity markets, it takes less money to move the market. So that could turn what is an edge when I place it into something that's not an edge when the game starts, which is what I want to avoid. Yeah, definitely, Kaki Sharon. I totally agree. It's really cool and it's incredibly annoying that the soft bookmakers are just able to limit you at their will, especially when you're trying to clear a bonus. And it gets even more annoying if you're on a run bad. So I'm not sure how much if I made a profit at marathon bet, but for a lot of people, that's where the most edges pop up and where there's a ton of value to be had. But I think I ran pretty badly there, and you know, it's so annoying that that shot you have at marathon just doesn't end up paying off. So that's another reason for why I'm trying to pick my battles more this time around with Trademate and with the remaining soft books I have left. Okay, so I'm just gonna write it out. That's probably easier. Odds.nu is the site for the Scandinavian bettors. Okay. Alright, cool. So here we have MK Dons in a game that starts in 7 minutes. So let's have a look at that. And yeah, really struggling with my computer being super slow when I'm doing the stream, so all the edges keep on disappearing, which is incredibly annoying. But you know, at least I got some trades in today, and overall it's been a really slow day in terms of edges. That's within my filters and presets at least. So I think it was Warren Buffett who says that when it comes to investing, his #1 rule is to never lose money, and his second rule is to follow rule #1. So my trading strategy is sort of based on the same principle, especially early on when you're trying to build that bankroll. If you go on a bad um, if you go on a bad run early on, um, you could reduce your bankroll by so much that it takes a really long time for it to recover. And I just want to avoid those situations, and that's why I've been following the low 30% Kelly, and why I try to stick to the recommended leagues almost exclusively. Okay. Let's have a look at this Turkey game. Plus 275. Yeah, that one's definitely gone. Let's check if it's still on. Come on. And Bet365, I actually have been on them since I started betting. I signed up with them for like, yeah, more than a year ago, and I still haven't been limited. Now I've had periods, as Reese has mentioned a bit. I've used to work with a fintech startup called Slero, and that just took up a very large amount of my time. So I wasn't able to place nearly as many bets over the last 6 months as I did in the year previous to that. So I'm still at Bet365, which is good. Okay, so I've been through the presets and everything. So now I figured since we got the new analytics page, I figured out how to have a bit of a look on how I've been running. So you know, obviously you can see on the profit curve and everything that I've been running way above EV. My hit rate's been rock solid, or pretty run good. So if we break it down a bit, you can see that I've been hitting a couple of high bets, and I've also been running pretty well on the odds range of 2 and 2.25, which is where a lot of my profits come from. And let's see if we turn on the all leagues. No, that wasn't what I was looking for. Recommended leagues only. Just wanted to see. Okay, so I placed about 270 trades total, and 230 of them have been on the recommended leagues. So that's definitely where the majority of my my trades have been. Okay. Yeah, I turn off the sound as well, so it wouldn't be bugging you guys. So a bit blind now, and the edges do exist. Let's have a look at this over 3.5 in Turkey. 3.5, and that's outdated as well, which sucks. But that's part of the game, and yeah. Also a reason why Martin is working on this new odds engine, just so that we'll be faster than ever. Let's see if we can get some. Ooh, they're starting in a few seconds. All these lower league games. Let's see if I'm able to get some money on before that. Harpool, Harpool, where are you? There. Okay. Got it. Ah, and I didn't get the other one. But, well, at least I got one of them. Let's hope that's the one that goes in. Okay, I'm just gonna have a look at my my notes to see whether there's something I haven't touched upon that I was planning to touch upon today. Yeah, let's have okay, I'm gonna finish it off pretty soon, just because there don't seem to be able to catch that many bets today. But first, I wanted to show you guys this article that I was talking about earlier, which Martin wrote about bet sizing. Uh, so what this graph is showing you is basically sort of like the deviations that you can have by following 100%, 50%, or 30% Kelly. And as you can see, if you follow the 30% Kelly criterion when you place your bets, you're gonna have a much less variance based on the bet sizing. So if we delve into it, you can, for instance, see that you're risking 24% of your bankroll for an average profit of 1%. And the difference between, the best case is that you make 3% ROI, and the worst case is that you make, yeah, really slow 0.5%. So for me, that just really is why I'm following this, is because I'm more or less guaranteed to make a slow and steady profit, or guaranteed's a strong word, but I'm much more likely to be making a profit when I get the volume in than what I am if I follow, for instance, the 100% Kelly, where the difference between the best case and the worst case scenario is so much larger, and I prefer the latter, or sorry, I prefer the 30%, following the 30% Kelly, just because it fits better with the amount of risk I'm willing to take. So yeah, definitely have a look at that article, guys. It's really good, and it's highly recommended. So let me just see. Okay, no additional questions. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up now. Hopefully, you guys have learned some new stuff. My goal is to teach you everything that I know and learn from working with the other guys at Trademate day in and day out. I'll be doing this at least once a week, and hopefully next weekend when the Premier League and everything is back on, there's going to be a lot more games, a lot more action, and we're going to get some more bets on. And in the meantime, I'll try and increase my my volume, because in the end, that's important if you're going to be making in order to make a profit. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Have a good day and enjoy the betting.